Elon Musk comes out with a chilling alert, something that should wake us up. It also comes on the fact that a Google exec says what technology actually is doing, what AI is actually doing to the populace of America and to the world. He says there's one thing that may be obsolete very, very soon. We'll discuss what Google executive said plus what Elon said because they go hand in hand. And we're talking about two uber billionaires who kind of know what's going on when it comes to technology. Also, we're going to discuss school. This guy had a great thought, and this is something I talk about all the time as a homeschooler. What value are you pushing to your children? If they're taught so many hours a day by someone else and then comes home with homework and has extracurricular activities dealing with school, how much time do you actually get to spend with your children? We're going to talk about that and discuss it. Also, there was a personal meeting, a private meeting held yesterday with Donald Trump. Who was the person and what evil was he trying to do in this meeting? We're going to discuss who met with President Trump yesterday in a private closed-door meeting that was not even on the books. It's kind of crazy. Then we're going to talk about what happened. You know, we talked about these 600,000 Chinese nationals yesterday coming over for school. Well, there was a doctor just busted. That was a Chinese national that came to our schools that stayed here. Just got busted for sending information back to China. That's what I'm talking about when I say this is one doctor. Why are we bringing 600,000 more? Do you think our secrets and things that we need to keep, America, do you think it's wise? Because ultimately these people will probably send this stuff back. And then lastly, we're going to discuss property tax. We're all happy when our property gets more expensive, right? Wait, we want it to grow in assessed value. We want our house to grow to bring more value to our asset pool. But the thing is, when it grows and being more assessed, property tax goes up and then people can't afford their homes. The fact that we're making this falsity with the value of our homes is actually putting people without homes. And then people are starting to lose their homes. Is this really value? The more they assess, the more money they can charge you for property tax. Again, this is why we need to get rid of property tax. Let's dive into these stories today. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. We have a beautiful rainy day. I'm so thankful for the rain. As a farmer, this is important. As someone who grows their food, this is important. So I am not complaining that we are actually getting some rain today. So hopefully you are having a good day wherever you're at in the U.S. Now let's dive into the stories of the day. First, let's talk about this private closed-door meeting with Trump. There was an announcement made yesterday, and this was actually kind of leaked, that Trump had a private closed-door meeting without cameras, without the media knowing, and it was supposed to be off the books. Who was it with? Bill Gates. What was Bill Gates doing at the White House? This is the second meeting he has had with President Trump. That's why you have to be careful with this guy, man, because he is a snake in the grass. Listen, it says, Bill Gates snuck into the White House today after calling Project Warp Speed one of the greatest achievements ever in history, which probably made him billions and allowed him to get really involved with 2020's pandemic. It says that President Trump had Bill Gates at the White House today. No cameras, no footage. What in the world could they have possibly talked about? Now, I imagine it's on the NGO push and also the fact that there's been a lot of funding cut by President Trump that was actually funneling back to Bill Gates and his quote-unquote philanthropy. And it's amazing that his foundation and his philanthropy is actually mostly funded by us as taxpayers. I personally do not like people having private access to any president, no matter if it's right or left, because I do believe that there is some colluding going on. Not because I believe Trump is going to do something for Bill Gates. The thing is, though, if he can coerce the biggest people around him to have a private meeting with Trump, this goes for Larry Fink, this goes for anyone, then that means they're going to get special access or either special treatment. I actually don't like this at all. I know every president has had close friends, but when there's private meetings taking place, there's usually a bad thing that goes along with it. Power and more money going towards a problem. One thing I've learned with George Soros and Bill Gates and a lot of these big billionaires, most of them without the government's NGOs and the government's funding from Congress, but granted by presidents, then a lot of times they wouldn't have the wealth that they had, because the money that they're using is not their own. The foundation money that the Clintons and that the Bill Gates Foundation had, and George Soros, Open Society, did you know that we were funding a lot of that? So I don't like private meetings with tech billionaires, especially people who have an evil plan. Everything that Bill Gates has touched, if you think about it, from the things in the arm, to the butter, to the meats, to the mosquitoes, now to the flies. Now we're hearing a lot of mosquitoes and fly issues. This guy is not good. So we need to watch what takes place and what announcement Bill Gates comes out with, because I don't like the fact that Trump is having closed-door meetings with him, especially when it wasn't planned and it was trying to be secretive. This is not good. Pay attention to this story. Now let's go to two other billionaires, because I think these are what's so important about this video today. What Elon Musk said, and also what the Google exec said. Let's talk about what Google said first. Google executive Jed Tarifi has said the advanced degrees, such as like post-college degrees, master's degrees, specialist degrees, professional degrees, even doctorate degrees, it says, listen, once considered vital to career advancement, once considered a very big part of American culture, and also the fact that people could advance their monies and opportunities. Now, it's not of value due to the rapid changes in technology and AI. So what he was basically saying is, you're going to go and you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in these college programs to ultimately not get anything out of it, because the advancement in the thought pattern that you had, that you were going to get to the next level as an engineer, or get to the next level as a doctor, or get to the next level as a professional, even a lawyer, AI is coming and is starting to encapsulate that and doing your job better than what you could do, and you're left with piles of debt. There was interviews done lately, because basically people thought that they could get out of student loans, and when Biden was pausing student loans to not be paid back, that was not a good thing, because really what it did is just prolong the inevitable. Remember, you can't bankrupt, you can't file bankruptcy, you can't have a Chapter 11 on your student loan debt. You have to pay it back. And because it's backed by government, they pretty much give everyone guarantees. What happens is all of a sudden you get a 6, 7, 8% loan on this. There's been people that has borrowed money for college over a 5 to 6 to 7 year old time, and they actually have to pay back double, triple, or quadruple the amount that they actually borrowed, which means they're always slave to the lender, always slave to the government, and have this degree hanging over their head. Well, before you're like, well, doctors would get contracts with hospitals. Engineers would get contracts with big businesses. There would be a way for them to pay off their debt, because ultimately they would go work for a career that would help them pay and contract their balances. Well, that's not the case anymore. This is Google exec who is on the cutting edge and the precipice of understanding technology is saying that's no longer needed. We're starting to see times where people don't even need college anymore. Mark Zuckerberg actually just came out and stated, now this man just gave $70 to $100 million contracts to up his AI platforms. But you know what he said? He said, I would rather have someone who has the common sense and smarts that I can train the way that Meta wants to train them, versus what a college can do, and they get piles of debt and they get indoctrinated by colleges to think they know more than my workers and engineers here at Meta. Now, not that I'm a big Zuckerberg fan, but what he was basically saying is college is becoming obsolete. School in general is becoming obsolete. Not because we don't want our kids to learn education, but that the debts and the indoctrinations that colleges are doing are not helping you to actually advance in the careers because of AI. Elon Musk came out, and this is where you get to the dangers of AI. This is just from Elon just yesterday. Now, I've been talking about some of the things he's said. Elon has actually said this from 2017. You could go back and see his talks about how AI advancement will bring for UBI. Listen to this. There will be a universal high income, not just merely basic income. He said everyone will have the best medical care, food, home, transport, and everything else. He said sustainable abundance because of what AI is bringing. Now, the thing I want to pay attention to is he's bragging on the fact of robotics and AI, the technology part of this. But let's go back to what the Google execs just said. Humans will no longer be needed for some of these big career advancement jobs because AI will do it for you. Now, if you remember what happened with ChatGPT last week and OpenAI, it said that the more people use it, survey shows that people are losing their thought patterns of critical thinking and actually using their mind for what it's supposed to be used for. He says they're using AI for all this, and it's actually making for a dumber population. Well, if all of a sudden we are becoming less active, not critical thinkers, and relying on AI to do our jobs, and then on top of that, AI starting to take our jobs, just like what the Google exec just said, well, Elon is exactly right, that we will need a universal basic income. But he said it's not just universal basic anymore. It's not just you're going to get a little stipend. He said the government will then have to come back and actually give you food, transportation, and also medical. He said because you're not going to need for anything else because robots and AI will do it all for you. What we're doing is making a population that is fully dependent on government. 65% of people want Medicare for all. Over 50% of Americans, 50% of Americans work for the government in some form or fashion already. Meaning they are already getting paid by the government, already tied to the government pensions, or already contracted by the government. So the government has grown to a point of really too big, almost to fail. Now here's the thing. Elon Musk just said, we have not seen yet how big government will get because of what AI is going to do. Government being the biggest player in AI will be over AI in some form or fashion, either by ownership or regulation. What that will do is make for people being fully controlled by the government, where the government will then have to provide not just SNAP benefits, your food, not just public transportation, all your transportation. And that's going to be used by things like full service driving, Waymos, things like robotics, cars. They'll do all your jobs for you. Now that may sound good to you, but what we're doing is actually building a population of lazy, dependent people. Now this goes right into the play of the Great Reset. The whole point of you own nothing and be happy, that's true, because the government will provide everything for you. Here's something else that you need to pay attention to. Yuval Harari, one of the biggest players with the WEF for the last 15 years, has said this time was coming as well. He said if we provide enough food, enough medical care, enough drugs and pharma, enough entertainment to the people, he said we will have what we call the useless generation, to where we will seek and have full control. What this Google exec and what Elon just basically stated is exactly playing into the hands of the elite and the deep state. To show you will own nothing and be happy, because ultimately you will not be needed for anything other than being a lazy bum relying on the government and AI to provide it for you. It's happening already around you. Every town hall that people are going to when it comes to congressmen, remember, congressmen should be wanting to cut regulation, should be wanting to cut spending, but every time even Republicans go, more people are yelling at them that they can't afford the goods. They can't afford anything. What happens when you can't afford it? They want government to assist them. This is a very dangerous, slippery slope, and we're falling right into it, to where the government will provide everything for us. That's what scares me about this Bill Gates meeting. What is Bill Gates trying to do for you right now? He's trying to provide every medical need you need. Literally, that's one of the biggest pushes he has, is that he wants to control this. But not only that, he's become the largest individual farmland owner in America. Now, is he doing it to grow farms? That's absolutely not what he's doing it for. He's absolutely doing it to get rid of trees, get rid of green spaces, utilize it for other things, and provide your food from a petri dish. When you think about AI and the dangers of it, what Elon and the Google exec just said, and then remember there's a private meeting that Bill Gates had, that he's trying to be over your food medicine, when you put all that stuff together, I don't think that's all coincidences, and I don't think that actually is going to benefit us. Universal basic income, universal basic medicine, universal basic care, transportation, that means the government owns you. That's what that means. Now, Colby, how do we actually make that? I mean, you're trying to tell people this, but most people believe that Medicare for all and food for all and government assistance, government housing is all good. Well, you know why? Prime example. Listen to this. This is from a Twitter quote. I thought this was so good. He says, "You have 8 hours to teach my kids. If you can't fit it in, do it tomorrow. There's no way that a parent should only get 4 to 5 hours with their child a day because of work and schooling, and you want them to look at doing school, extracurricular sports, or doing homework. We're wasting time with our children instead of teaching them life skills and teaching them how much family matters." I've been really burdened with this lately. Because my kids are in activities. Now, we homeschool, so it's a little bit different. But I feel like, for most parents, they send their kids to school 8 hours a day. So they see them rushed in the mornings, give them a thing of Cocoa Puffs, which are terrible food. You rush them to school, you're going to work, you're stressed out. All of a sudden you get home and you have to do 2 hours worth of work of school with your children because it didn't get done in an 8-hour period. And ultimately what they're doing is learning nothing at school other than indoctrination. And that's how you program the children. The things we worried about with the rainbow flag and the things we worried about with the gender studies, the things we worried about not having reading and arithmetic in schools, if we have 8 hours worth of indoctrination, not education, and then we come home and have to teach our children ourselves in homework, are we actually getting value in family and life skills and spending quality time with our families? This goes back to the same things that we've been talking about over this video. We're actually kind of depressing the fact of how valuable family is, depressing the fact of life skills and independence, and actually making a fact that we should be indoctrinated with school, AI doing everything for us, and ultimately not building time for family. This scares me so much. If you spend any time on social media or Twitter, a lot of times that's where I get some of the news, and that's where I get the leads for investigative journalism, what we try to do on this channel, and get the new things going on in the day. But to see the hate, and to see the propaganda, and to see the Overton window shifting to where families are not important, Christianity is not important, to see that life skills and independence is not important. We can be so overwhelmed with information, and that information can actually skew us. They say the same thing about TV, how it kind of ruined a generation, ruined family, ruined that time together as family. So we've tried to have more time outside, riding bikes, doing things outside, playing sports with our family as a family. We've actually started playing games like we played Phase 10 the other night together, because it makes our children critically think instead of having some kind of phone or iPad in their hand. My kids have to earn time on like Nintendos. They can't just play every day, all day. They have one time a week that they play, which is on a weekend, which is after they do their chores for the week and after they do good in school. What we have to realize is if we really want to help Americans, and we really want independence, and we really want an education system, and we really want to make critical thinkers, it starts back at our home. When we pawn our ability and our family time off to schools, and then we allow for this normal, we go to work all day, the kids go to school all day, they basically babysit for us to then have to come home and teach them for 2 or 3 hours, and then we actually don't get to spend that quality time with our children. I believe we're making a generation of no family, no skills, and making them fall right into the same status quo of what American has become. We find no value in family. We find no value in life skills. We find no value in independence. And all we do is we look for government to fix all our problems. This is the slippery slope that we were just talking about even yesterday. The last two stories I want to bring up, one come from Jamie Raskin. All these politicians on the left and right are both so cringy. But Jamie Raskin made a comment yesterday, because Trump has been talking about going to Chicago, going to other states for federalization. I love what Trump did say yesterday. He said, I don't necessarily want to send the troops, but if the mayors want me to send the troops, I will. So what he's trying to say is, look, we're not trying to be martial law here. What we're trying to do is help the cities. There's an interview done in the south side of Chicago, and she said, and this was the African-American lady, she said, we call south side of Chicago Chirac. And she said it was a playoff of Iraq, because she said all we do is see war and danger for our family. She was saying, I hope Trump does send those people here. She said, my mayor and my governor are doing nothing for us. And she's talking about the Democratic leader, and she's a Democrat. She said, I hope Trump sends that. So I think that there's a way that we should be seeing our politics work together and actually make for better cities without having to get into a fighting over right and left and good and evil and all that stuff. We should be working together to make our cities stronger and safer. Listen to what Jamie Raskin said, and this is where you get to a point where you're going to see America just split apart. This right here. Crime, this is a quote from Jamie Raskin. Crime has always been a part of our history. So why are we trying to stop it now? Especially using the military. Now what he's trying to do is spat on the face of the federalization of law enforcement and bringing military to the cities. Okay, I understand that. I think that's a risk for everybody, because nobody wants to see this kind of quote-unquote martial law. But what he's trying to say is, look, it's okay that we have crime in the cities. It's been here forever. I mean, we're going to have crime. There's no way of fixing all that. Just let the crime happen. but we would rather just keep our cities the same way. So you would rather the people live within crime-stricken situations than actually fix them. There's been no homicides in D.C. for the first time since the government let go of D.C. and went in under Democratic control under these mayors. This has been the first time. It's been over 2 weeks since a homicide has actually happened. Crime is actually down in every facet since Trump has done this in D.C. Now, I told you before, I don't agree with military going in by the government, federal government, saying that the military should go in. But I do agree that if Chicago really wanted to heal their situation, they'd say, Illinois, send us National Guard. The federal government send us National Guard so we can get a hold of it and then let us take back over. They can work alongside each other to make for better streets. Now, that's a bigger deal. But what Jamie Raskin is saying, and this is what a lot of politicians will say, because Trump is wanting to clean up the cities, they're going to literally say that we would rather have crime in the cities. He literally just said that. He said there's no point in trying to stop it. We can't stop all the crime. We might as well allow it to happen. That is a absolute travesty that one of our leaders that has made a career politician, that has become a millionaire off of your tax dollars, says it's okay to have crime, basically because they don't want any safety and security. What did I say yesterday? Crime, chaos, and collapse and unrest in the cities is exactly what these politicians want. Why? Because when that takes place, who do they look to fix it? Government. Prime example of what the lady said from Southside. She said, since the local government's not helping me, since state government's not helping me, I want federal government to help me. Well, that's a foreshadowing of exactly what's going to happen, because the more that we have financial problems, the more that we have problems with affording taxes and inflation, the more that our government spends, the more that our healthcare gets untouchable in pricing, the more we will need government to step in. That brings me to the point where, assessing property value. Property value has went up 60 to 100%. Now, for most homeowners, they say, well, that's great. That means our property is worth more. That would be great, other than the fact that it's false, because what they're actually doing is raising your property value because they need assessment of taxes. So property taxes then go up, then therefore people can't afford them. What we've seen in a lot of these liberal areas and a lot of these big cities is that the fixed income individuals can't afford their property tax anymore because of all the reassessing by the city and county, because they need more of your tax basis. Chaos and cost, inflation, politicians make for things to happen to where you then depend on them. If they can't buy your home and use it for something else, then they can cause a problem to where you lose your home. If they can't make you go on universal health care, they can make your health care so expensive, so therefore then you fall back on Obamacare or fall back on some kind of Medicare for all and you support it. If they make food expense so high to where you can't afford it, then you look for SNAP benefits and other ways like universal basic income so you can provide the food for your family. You see how this works? It's all a slippery slope. And the sad thing is, every situation that we've mentioned today can be healed by one thing: taking career politicians out, letting lobbyists not have access, letting specialists and special interest groups not have access to our leaders, and actually let these leaders be humble enough to serve and then get out of office and come back home and do normal jobs. Career politicians has made all these problems happen. And now we see AI coming alongside that, and that's going to cause for even more chaos and problems for the Americans. And that's why I believe you will see Americans be completely, fully dependent and actually a slave to their own government. We're seeing it day in and day out. And it scares me. And what these politicians want is exactly what's happening. They want you to fall in line and fall behind them and let them be the leaders of you. And you not having independence, you relying on AI, robotics, and the government to provide everything for it, and you become just what Agenda 2030 wanted for the West. A useless generation that we can keep fat, happy, entertained, and fully drugged. And if we got that, then we control. That's what it's all about, guys. Now, last story. Because again, we're allowing 600,000 more Asian, Chinese national students into our colleges. If our colleges can't make it without those foreign national students, let's just send them back, shut the colleges down. Because what Google just said was, we don't even need the colleges anymore. New story. Chinese doctor accused of stealing information in confidential cancer research from U.S. funded schools and hospitals. This happened in Houston. So now we have one student that is getting this information because of what we taught him. He picked it up and tried to take this back to China. You think those other 600,000 are not doing that too? What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? And it's amazing how we want to blame Israel. It's amazing how we want to blame the conservatives. It's amazing how we say freedom's not free anymore. It's amazing how we get mad at certain things, and all the while we have AI taking over our jobs, education teaching our children and actually not life skills and independence. We have leaderships that's causing us problems like politicians telling us that crime's okay, and we have secret meetings with billionaires who are trying to take over our farmlands, our food, and our medicine. And now we have Chinese people that we're allowing into our country to basically infiltrate every aspect of our country. 600,000 people is a lot of people. And just think only half of them give their information back to China. That means most of our intel is now China's intel. Crazy times. This is why I tell you to be independent, to think for yourself, to teach your children, to seek guidance and common sense. Because all these stories, what Elon Musk said to what this happened with this Chinese situation, is happening right before our very eyes. Pay attention, wake up, be ready, be prepared, and love on your children and let them, you teach them the life skills and the independence because they're going to need it. There's a study done that said that white Europeans and even conservative white men are not having children in America. It said by 2030 they will be considered a minority in the world. Well, if we're allowing people not to be independent, not allowing them to have children, making it too expensive for everything, then what we've done is we've built a slave mentality to the government, and that is dangerous. Guys, let me know your thoughts for today. I have children, and I want to make sure they have a good world to grow up in, a safe world to grow up in, a healthy world to grow up in. And if I don't teach them the life skills and independence, I'm scared they're going to fall just like the rest of America in line, looking for government to help them. And that scares me. Let me know your thoughts on today's video. God bless.